He wasn't invited to his dad's funeral, but he came anyway. What he did at the grave left everyone speechless. No one expected Caleb Morton to come back to Ellensburg. Least of all, the people who buried his father without him. It was early October when the letter arrived. A simple white envelope, slightly crumpled, with no return address. Caleb stared at it for hours on his cluttered kitchen table before finally tearing it open, already knowing what it would say. The ink was smudged like it had been written in a rush or maybe through tears. Harold Morton, beloved father and husband, passed away September 17th at age 62. The funeral service will be held September 23rd, closed to family only. Family only. Caleb scoffed under his breath, tipping back the chipped whiskey glass beside him. Like I was never blood to begin. With the last time he'd spoken to Harold Morton, the man had told him, "You're not my son anymore. Don't ever set foot on my land again." It's good that was 10 years ago. 10 years since Caleb had left Washington State in a trail of dust and shame. His face bloodied, his hands bruised, and the sound of his father's voice thundering in his ears. But now the old man was dead, and Caleb wasn't invited to say goodbye. He folded the letter once, then again, tucked it into the back pocket of his worn jeans, and muttered, "Well, that's just too damn bad." He was going anyway. Ellensburg hadn't changed much in a decade. Same rusted farm signs, same half-empty gas stations. The town had a quiet kind of arrogance about it, the way small places do when they think they've seen enough. Tragedy to outgrow your drama. Caleb rolled down the window of his borrowed Ford truck. The autumn wind slapped his face like an old memory. He passed the bakery his mother used to take him to every Sunday after church, boarded up now. Then the high school where he'd thrown his first punch and earned his first suspension. And just past the hill, the church where Harold Morton would be buried. The parking lot was full of shiny cars that didn't belong in Ellensburg. People Caleb hadn't seen in years were piling out of them, wearing dark suits like costumes, pretending they gave a damn. He parked at the edge of the gravel lot, a safe distance from everyone else. He didn't want to make a scene, not yet. The sky above was gray, heavy with the kind of clouds that promised a storm but never delivered. Caleb stepped out slowly, stretching his long legs, wiping his hands on his jeans. His heart thudded louder than his boots on the ground. He walked toward the grave. The pastor had already begun his speech. Harold Morton was a man of principle, a pillar of this community. Caleb held back a bitter laugh. If only these folks knew the pillar had spent most of his nights drunk in a recliner, slurring insults through cigarette smoke at the edge of the crowd. He spotted Harima Morton, his little sister, all grown up now. Her blonde hair was pinned back neatly, her shoulders tight with tension. She was holding their mother's hand, who sat like a statue in the front row. Neither of them had looked behind. They didn't know. He was there, yet Caleb stood still, hands in pockets. Like a ghost returned to haunt his own past. The pastor's words blurred in his ears. All he could hear was the wind, and the sound of dirt being shoveled over memories no one wanted to revisit. When the final prayer ended, the guests began walking away in clusters. Whispers started. Someone had seen him. Is that Caleb? I thought he was still in prison. He has no business being here. He ignored them all. His eyes were locked on the casket. Brown wood, polished, fake dot. Harold would have hated it. Caleb walked toward the casket like it was calling him. People moved aside, uncomfortable, unsure. Emma finally saw him. Her mouth fell open slightly, eyes narrowing. Their mother turned her head to and froze like someone had punched the breath from her lungs. Caleb didn't say a word. Not yet. He reached the grave. Kneeling slowly, he placed something on the casket. It was a rusted pocket knife one his father had given him at age 12. The same one Harold had tried to take back the night. Caleb left. Caleb stared at the wood. You taught me how to carve animals with this? Then you carved a hole in this family so deep, no one ever climbed out. He didn't care who heard. But I'm here now, old man, not for you, for me. Then, pulling a silver flask from his coat, he poured a single shot onto the dirt and took a swig himself. Cheers, you bitter son of a bitch. That's when all hell broke loose. Emma stormed toward him, heels crunching the gravel. What the hell are you doing here, Caleb? He stood, calm, taller than her now, older, weathered, saying goodbye, or is that reserved for people who kiss the ring? She looked like she wanted to slap him. You should have stayed gone. Let you rewrite history while the town claps along. Emma's eyes flashed. You don't get to talk about history. You ran from it. No, Caleb said. I was thrown out of it. Their mother stepped forward, trembling. That's enough. Both of you. Caleb turned to her. You didn't even tell me he died. She looked away. We thought it'd be better that way. Better for who? Silence. Everyone was watching now. But Caleb didn't care. He turned his back and began walking toward the edge of the hill behind the graveyard, where the land sloped down to the abandoned Morton barn. The old barn hadn't been touched in years. It was Harold's man cave, a place off limits to kids, to Emma, even to their mother. Caleb had always suspected it held secrets. Now, with the old man gone, he had no reason not to open it. The lock was rusted, but a swift kick broke it loose. The wooden doors groaned. Opened inside, dust danced in the beams of light seeping through the cracks. Cobwebs everywhere. But there, in the corner, under a stained tarp, Caleb saw something odd. A box, .ode, wooden with his name carved on the lid. He swallowed hard. Lifting it open, he found a collection of items. A baby photo of him torn at the edge. A letter, unopened, addressed to Caleb when I'm gone, and a necklace. Mother's. What the hell were you hiding, Dad? Caleb whispered. Caleb sat on the dusty floor of the barn, heart thudding like thunder in his ears. The letter in his hand was old. The envelope yellowed, the seal cracked. He held it like it might explode, like it had waited all these years to shatter what little truth he had left. He opened it. Caleb, if you're reading this, I'm gone. If I know you at all, you didn't come here looking for peace. You came for answers. So I'll give you one before the rest eat you alive. I was wrong. I was wrong the night I kicked you out. I was wrong not to pick up the phone when you called after Mama died. I was wrong to pretend I didn't see myself in you. But what scared me most wasn't your anger, was your heart. Because that kind of heart doesn't survive in men like me. But maybe it can in you. There are things you don't know, Caleb, about me, about her, about what happened the year before. You left, and that necklace in the box. It's not your mother's. It belonged to someone else, someone you were never supposed to meet. Caleb froze. Her name was June. The paper trembled in his hand. You'll find the rest in the red envelope buried beneath the oak tree behind the barn. The one I always told you not to climb. I'm sorry for everything, but you have to understand. I was trying to protect you. Harold Caleb didn't realize he was crying until a single drop landed on the paper. What the hell, Dad? He stood up, wiping his face with the back of his hand. The oak tree. Of course, that damn oak tree. The tree stood at the far edge of the Morton land, roots thick like veins across the dirt. Caleb hadn't been back here since he was 15, the day Harold dragged him away from the trunk by his collar and shouted, "You don't touch what isn't yours." At the time, Caleb thought it was about the danger of falling. Now, he knew better, with a flat shovel he found near the barn wall. Caleb began to dig. The earth was stubborn, packed down from years of secrets. Every inch he unearthed felt like opening a wound. But 5 minutes in, he hit something solid, wood. He knelt, brushed the soil away, and lifted a small tin box from the grave beneath the roots. Inside, one red envelope, slightly damp but intact. He opened it slowly. Inside were photographs, dozens. One of Harold Young, maybe 25, holding a baby that wasn't Caleb. Another of a woman with long dark hair, laughing by a lake. And finally, A birth certificate. Name: June Whitaker. Mother: Clara Whitaker. Father: Harold Morton. Caleb's stomach dropped. She was my sister. He sat back, stunned. Why the hell didn't I know? He didn't go back to the funeral crowd. He went straight to Emma's apartment. She lived in the old part of town now above the general store, next to a laundromat that never worked. Caleb knocked hard. 3 times. She opened the door half, an inch, and looked like hell had personally sent him. Go away, Caleb. You've done enough. You're gonna want to hear this. She didn't move. It's about June. Her eyes widened. I know she was our sister. Emma pulled the door open, yanked him inside, and shut it fast. How did you find out? He left me a letter. Said the necklace in the barn belonged to her. Emma stared down at the floor, hands trembling. I wasn't supposed to tell you. No one was. Dad made us promise after the accident. What accident? Emma swallowed. June died the year before you left. Drowned in the quarry. They called it an accident, but Dad never forgave himself. She wasn't supposed to be there. Didn't you tell me? 'Cause you weren't supposed to exist, Caleb? Silence. June was born first. But her mom was someone Dad met before marrying Mom. No one in town knew. Not even Mom until she found the necklace. She almost left him. So what did he do? He buried her memory, made us swear. Said if the town found out, we'd lose everything. So we didn't speak of her. We let her be erased. Caleb turned to the window, fists clenched. But she was blood. She was more than that. Emma whispered. She was the only one who loved you for who you really were. That broke him. Caleb didn't sleep that night. He took the truck out past town to the road that led to the quarry. The same place June had died. He remembered her. Now vaguely. A girl with dark hair and wild laughter. She used to sneak him candies when Harold wasn't looking. Told him stories about a world beyond Ellensburg. She wasn't a cousin, like they said. She wasn't some family friend. She was his sister. And she was dead. The quarry was silent when he arrived. Moonlight painted the water silver. The cliff edge loomed like a shadow of fate. But there was one more place to visit. A cabin up the hill. The Whitaker place. Boarded up 4 years. Inside. It smelled of cedar and ghosts. The furniture was covered in sheets. Dust floated like snow. But on the wall, untouched, was a frame. A photo of June, smiling, arms around a young boy, him. Beneath it, carved into the frame, for the brother I wasn't allowed to love. Caleb dropped to his knees. Back in town, Caleb sat on the porch of his motel, staring at the stars like they owed him something. The pieces were there, but the puzzle was still broken. Then his phone buzzed, a number he didn't know. I heard you're back in town, a voice said. Lowmail.com. Who is this? Someone who knows what really happened to June. What the hell are you talking about? Meet me at the railroad crossing, midnight. Come alone. Click. Caleb stared. At the screen, the past wasn't done with him yet. The railroad crossing was dead quiet at midnight. Caleb leaned on his truck, a cold creeping into his bones, eyes flicking to the tree line where mist curled like cigarette smoke. The air felt like the edge of a whisper. Like the world had stopped breathing. Then headlights. A rusted-out Buick rolled up, tires crunching gravel. A man stepped out, old, a worn leather jacket, silver hair, eyes like they'd seen too much and remembered too well. You, Caleb Morton. Depends who's asking. Name's Walt. Used to work for your old man. Used to know June. Caleb tensed. I've heard that name too many times and never enough answers. Walt lit a cigarette. With a hand that didn't quite stop shaking. I ain't here to stir ghosts. I'm here to tell you the truth because, Harold, he wasn't just your father. He was the architect of this whole damn town's silence. What happened to June? Walt looked away, took a drag. She didn't drown by accident. She found something she wasn't supposed to, papers in Harold's office. Proof of a land grab scheme. Property stolen from veterans, widows, names forged. She was gonna blow the whistle. Jesus. She came to me, wanted protection. But before I could help, they found her. Caleb's throat tightened. Who's they? Your Uncle Paul? The preacher? The mayor? Hell, even Sheriff. Klein, Harold didn't know until it was too late. Caleb stumbled back like the truth had shoved him, and he covered it up. Kay had to. They threatened to kill the whole family. Emma, he thought, hiding June was the only way to keep the rest of you breathing. But he still made me leave. 'Cause you were asking too many damn questions, son. Just like her. Caleb didn't sleep by dawn. He was parked outside the Ellensburg Church, Paul Morton's domain. The preacher stepped out in full black, like sin draped in scripture. His smile was too clean, his eyes too cold. Caleb, back in town for more drama. The act, I know about June. Paul's face didn't twitch. I'm afraid I don't know who the hell you don't. Caleb stepped forward. She died because of you, 'cause she saw through this town's Sunday best lies. Paul leaned in, voice low. Careful. Boy, you start turning over stones, you won't like what crawls out. I already have. Caleb pulled the red envelope from his coat and tossed it at Paul's feet. This ends today. It spread fast. By noon. Photos of June, of the birth certificate, of the mayor's signature on forged deeds. They were everywhere. Caleb sent them to the local paper, every council member, every dusty mailbox in town. Then came the footage. Walt had kept tapes. June's voice, shaky but clear, saying she feared for her life. Ellensburg cracked like ice under a boot. Emma called in tears. The sheriff resigned. The mayor vanished to God knows where. And Paul Morton. They found him at the chapel, surrounded by old hymnals and whiskey. He didn't deny it, just whispered, "We thought we were saving the town." Well, they weren't. They were saving themselves. A week later, Caleb stood at his father's grave again. This time, no one tried to stop him. He knelt in front of the headstone. Not with hate, not with pity. Just silence. You weren't a good man, Harold, but you weren't the worst one either. You were a coward, and cowards build walls instead of bridges. He pulled June's necklace from his pocket, still wrapped. In cloth, he laid it on the dirt, right at the base of the stone. You should have told me, you should have told the world. Took out the last letter one Walt had found, dated just 3 days before Harold died. To Caleb, if this reaches you, I've done one right thing. I didn't have the courage to save June, but I hope you have it in you to save what's left of us. I've failed as a father, but maybe I haven't failed as a man. Forgive me if you can. Caleb burned the letter right there, not out of hate, but to let it go. Emma sold the farm. With Caleb's help. She started a foundation in June's name, scholarships for girls in rural towns. Real legacy, real healing. Walt testified before the state attorney. The story of Ellensburg made headlines for 3 weeks. But then, like all things, it faded. Caleb didn't stay. He left one morning without telling anyone. Headed west, bought a camera, started writing. Said he wanted to capture truths before they turned to secrets. Sometimes he'd mail Emma a postcard. Found a town where the dead don't lie. Feels weird. I'll keep looking. Epilogue. The bench won. Year later, a small wooden bench was placed by the quarry. A plaque read, for June Whittaker's sister fighter. The voice that wouldn't stay silent. And beneath that, he wasn't invited, but he came anyway. And because he did, the truth finally stood up. Now tell me, do you think Harold deserved redemption, or was Caleb too forgiving? What would you have done if you were Caleb? Burned the town down or built it back up? And do you believe every small town hides a secret this dark? Or was Ellensburg just cursed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. I read every single one. If you felt something during this story, chills, tears, anger, anything that means you're the kind of person who loves the truth, buried deep in fiction. So hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join our family of story lovers who don't just listen, they feel. See you in the next one. where the next secret is already whispering. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, stay brave.